Who says 30 can't be fun? The Columbus Square Bowling Palace is turning 30, and the fun has just begun. Come celebrate our birthday with us. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours for fun with friends and family, no matter what time it is, there's always time at the Palace. The Palace is the perfect place to hold your birthday party or corporate employee groups. Call us today to make your reservation. 30 years old and better than new, with millions of dollars in renovations at the highest rated bowling center in Columbus, the Columbus Square Bowling Palace.
One of the two punts blocked by Mount Union on Saturday that spurred them to a 48-0 victory over Otterbein, keeping their undefeated season alive and holding on to their #1 ranking in all of the land. Hello, and thanks for watching Cardinal Kickoff, your exclusive source for all things Otterbein football, brought to you by the Columbus Square Bowling Palace. I am David Kinder, joined in studio, the man to my left with the pink tie, Jon Bozeka. Jon, how you doing?
David, I'm doing good today, of course. As I've said before to you, not happy with the Cardinals' effort this past weekend, but it's Capital Week here on campus, and I'm excited because anytime the Cards and the Crusaders go at it, I get excited and I get that fire deep within me, and I'm hoping this Saturday Cardinals can get a win.
Yeah, rivalry week here on campus, and it's about 3:22 here in the studio, and Capital still sucks.
That's the truth.
But on Saturday, Otterbein traveled to Alliance to take on the #1 team in all the land, and as we said, a poor showing for the Cardinals offensively, defensively, all around, and the streak continues for Mount Union. They have beaten Otterbein every single year since 1976, Jon. Otterbein just 37 offensive yards in this game, a poor performance all around. They had 4 quarterbacks used in this one and ultimately fell 48-0. What went wrong offensively for the Cards in this game, Jon, that led to such the performance that we saw?
Well, a number of things, David. I mean, for one, you talk about it, only 37 plays for 37 offensive yards. That's averaging a yard a play. That's not good at all. That's not going to get you
Some
anywhere.
good math, Jon.
Looking at it from a standpoint of first downs, they only had 1 first down in the game. That came on the first drive, and, that's not a recipe for success either. They came out and they ran out of this shotgun formation with Derek Rudolph, and they were slinging the ball to around him out of the backfield, some swing passes and things like that. It was working really well, and then they went away from it. And they tried that power eye, and that didn't work as well. And then they only had 34 yards on the ground. Now, in weeks before, we've seen them go over 200 against Baldwin Wallace. We've seen them go close to 100 against the other teams, such as the Heidelbergs and the Muskingums. And even at John Carroll, they ran the ball successfully on that first drive. But in this game, they didn't run the ball successfully. And Mount Union rushed for over 300 yards on them, 309 to be exact. That's never a recipe for success. And playing the #1 team in the country, David, you're just not going to win.
4 quarterbacks you mentioned were used in this game, Jon. You were up there. We saw the starter, Ben Sizemore, go down with an injury. Brick Davis replaces him. Ryan Toombs and Thomas Linder all same time at quarterback in this game. You were there Saturday. Talk about the injury to the 2 quarterbacks, the starter and the backup, and how severe they appeared to be and what they were doing on the sidelines once they came out of the game.
Well, for Ben and Brick, it was just re-aggravated injuries. Of course, Ben got injured against Heidelberg. That ankle, he came into this game, he was scrambling on a pass, and he got injured again, and then he had to trot off the sideline. Brick Davis then comes on, and he's doing pretty well. And then he runs an option, and he gains 9 yards. And in running the option, he re-aggravates his injury. So then Ryan Toombs comes in, and Toombs gets, beat up in the backfield. Pressure is just way too much. And then at the end of the game, Thomas Linder, who hasn't seen a down yet this year at quarterback, nor has Ryan Toombs, I'm pretty sure, come into the game. And both of them come in, and they just hand the ball off strictly. And, I'm just hoping this weekend that both either Ben or Brick will be healthy, because Brick was the player who had to come in last year to relieve Ben Sizemore and win the game against Capital last year. So no stranger to this game.
That's right. And defensively for the Cards, they couldn't stop much either on that side of the ball. Who gets your award as the standout player of the game? So much talent offensively for Mount Union. Who's shown above the rest for the Purple Raiders?
It's hard to go against him. Kevin Burke. He's the quarterback. He's the leader. He made a couple bad throws, but a bad throw for him is throwing it away. Because he gets so much protection from his line. Honestly, David, you talk about Kevin Burke being the standout player, but the standout thing of Mount Union is the offensive line. They are so big, and I was telling Josh on the radio every single play that they would get 2 yards of push forward before Mount Union would even snap the ball. Before the ball was even in the halfback's hands, they got a 2-yard push forward. That is always going to get you a win. So, yes, I gave it to Burke, but I'm actually going to give it to the offensive line. The offensive line is the MVP of this football game.
I like that, giving recognition to the 5 guys up front that don't get their names said too much.
Hey, that's what won the game. The line of scrimmage is what wins the game each week, David.
As a former offensive lineman, I can appreciate that.
I know you would appreciate that.
Well, we've seen all 3 teams in the OAC, John, now that are still undefeated in John Carroll, Heidelberg, and Mount Union. Otterbein has played all 3 and lost to all 3. They went up to University Heights and fell to John Carroll 28-0. Lost last week to Heidelberg 35-17, and of course the 48-zip loss to the Purple Raiders this week. So we've seen all 3 play. In your opinion, when all 3 of these teams will play each other at some point in the year to come in the final 3 weeks of the regular season, who will be standing undefeated at the end of the year, and who will be the OAC champion at the end of the year?
Well, as of right now, it's hard to go against Mount Union because they are still the #1 team in the country. And just when I thought because Vince Karras took over it was going to change things, it doesn't change a thing. They're just as good as they were before, and they're able to still pound on the teams in the OAC and still look like they're head and heels above every other team. But don't rule out Mount Union, or don't rule out Heidelberg, and don't rule out John Carroll, because John Carroll and Heidelberg both have great assets to their teams. I mean, obviously we saw John Carroll, and Mark Myers is something else. I mean, he's a phenomenal quarterback, and if there's one guy that can sling it around on Mount Union, it's going to be Mark Myers. And if there's one guy that can run on that defense, it's going to be Cartel Brooks. So Vince Karras is going to have his hands full defending both of those teams. Do I think they will beat Mount Union? No, but do I think they will be very close games? Yes. All 3 teams are very good. Mount Union is just a little bit better.
Well, this Saturday, while the Otterbein Capital game is going on at Memorial Stadium, the Student Princes and the Purple Raiders will be going head-to-head in the first battle of the undefeateds this year to see who will be. And don't be too surprised if Mount Union has some struggles trying to contain Cartel Brooks in that game.
Well, one time last year, that game ended up being a final. It was Mount Union 39 and Heidelberg 14 last year. And at one time, it was 14-14. And I remember doing the game on radio and saying, hey, look at that. Heidelberg might just be the team that's going to upset them. And then sure enough, Mount Union kind of settled in, and Heidelberg kind of realized, wait, we're tied with the #1 team in the country. And once that settles in with the team that's playing Mount Union tight, it's tough to beat them. So, don't be surprised if the game is close, but just like any other matchup with Mount Union and Heidelberg and even John Carroll, 3 quarters it might be close, but once Mount Union turns on the Jets, it's hard to beat them.
No team has won the OAC outright in the regular season except Mount Union since 1991,
that is
John.
Truly
so
amazing.
It's a big task to overcome if you're going to be one of the teams that upsets them to take the conference outright and then have to beat John Carroll if you're Heidelberg, who defeats them too. So definitely not an easy task.
And that's the thing about the OAC this year is that Heidelberg could beat Mount Union this week, but then Mount Union could beat John Carroll, and John Carroll could end up beating Heidelberg. Yeah. So you'd have 3 teams bottlenecked up atop the league at 9-1, and I mean, you can only really take 2 teams for the playoffs, or even 1 for that matter. So who do you go with? Yeah. I mean, Mount Union's the obvious choice still because they're still Mount Union, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
It'll be very fun to watch as we go down the stretch. Well, now let's take a look at some of those plays that went wrong for the Cardinals on Saturday in a segment we call Under Further Review with Jon Bozeka.
After further review.
First play here on Further Review. Snap from Eric Mitchell, which was low in the first place, goes back to the punter Ryan Toombs. Toombs, who kicks it with his left foot, initially has no time to get it off as Chad McRae, number 83, doesn't get his block set on Kochev, who eventually blocks the punt, and Zach Reeves is not there to help. Punt is blocked, ball goes into the end zone. It's an easy touchdown. Second play here on Further Review. Kevin Burke fades back, has a wide open Luke Meacham. Clearly, Meacham found the spot in the zone right here, and the only person who could have caught him was Jalen Kennedy, and even the senior defensive back for the Cardinals doesn't have enough speed to catch Meacham. Meacham goes all the way 67 yards, and that's a quick score with 14-17 in the first quarter. Final play on Further Review. Toombs takes a snap and hands it off to Drew Irvin, and Drew Irvin, well, he has nowhere to run. The line breaks down, and before he can even look to make a move, there's 5 jerseys there in his face from Mount Union, and he simply runs into a pile of nothing, and this was the story all day.
We're going to step away here on Cardinal Kickoff for a short break. When we come back, we will discuss everything you need to know for Rivalry Week here at Otterbein.
Still up? Can't sleep? Looking for something to do? Come to a place where the fun never sleeps. Columbus Square Bowling Palace. It's been the premier bowling destination in Central Ohio for 30 years. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours, no matter what time it is. There's always time at the Palace for fun with friends and family. Join the Night Owl regulars at Columbus Square Bowling Palace, where the fun never sleeps.
Back here on Cardinal Kickoff, David Kinder along with Jon Bozeka. It is now 3:30 here in the OTV studios, and John, Capital still sucks.
Still the truth.
And speaking of Capital, that is who Otterbein will take on in Memorial Stadium this Saturday, a 1:30 kickoff, which you can watch here on OTV streaming live. A very busy day in OTV.
It will be.
Volleyball at 11 a.m. earlier. But Capital comes into this one, John, as a struggling team, as they do in many years, to be fair. 1-6 on the year, one conference win. They beat Marietta in week 2. What should we expect to see out of Cap that we don't already know about them?
Well, Cap, obviously, they are 1-6. They're on a 5-game losing streak, but they love to run the football, David. Thus far on the season, they've averaged 226 yards rushing the football. So this is a team that's going to beat it to you on the ground. They have lots of different options they can go to as well. Their quarterback is actually their leading rusher, Chase Longwell, actually the leading rusher on the team with 392 yards rushing. And he can pass the football through. He's at 410 yards passing, but he tends to throw interceptions. He has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, so not the trustiest arm. And I remember last year when Otterbein played over there, they went through a quarterback shuffle throughout the whole game, and I remember there was lots of confidence issues going on in the Capital sideline. But yes, they will like to rush the football, and that's what you should expect to see out of them most of the game.
An extremely young team. 4 of their top 5 ball carriers are underclassmen, either sophomores or freshmen, and their quarterback, a freshman. Do you expect Otterbein to try to rattle the young guy early, playing in his first rivalry game, able to send some blitzes in there and sort of pressure him and get him mixed up a little?
Well, he is from Hilliard-Darby, so he does come from a very good football pedigree, so he knows the game, and he played in a good conference in high school as well, so, used to the big game, because I believe he played in the OCC, right? Yeah, so used to the big game down here. And yes, he will get rattled at some point, depending on what kind of pressure Otterbein brings. I know that last year they pressured their quarterback the whole game, and by the end of the game, all the quarterbacks were beat up. And I'd love to see defensive coordinator Alan Moore go out there and really just throw a bunch of blitz packages at him all day, because being a young quarterback and being here at Memorial Stadium, if there is a big crowd, he will be rattled immediately.
We still don't know which quarterback we're going to see run out there for the Cardinals on Saturday, but this is a Capital defense that's among the worst in the OAC.
Yeah.
They gave up 76 points to Heidelberg 2 weeks ago. Remember, Otterbein only allowed 35 to one of the top scoring teams in the nation. What do you expect to see out of the offense this week, not knowing who the quarterback's going to be with an injury to your best receiver? What would you like to see out of formation-wise and play-calling-wise?
Well, Capital gives up 428 yards a game defensively, and they give up 40 points a game, almost 41. So all day I would expect to see Otterbein pretty much throw anything they want to at him. I mean, just being completely honest, I'd love to see them come out in that power eye, though. I would love to see that power eye be the first formation they go to. Not that shotgun yet. Save that for later on in the game, but I'd love to see them open things off, just running the football down Capital's throat. Because once you establish that run, it makes the quarterback's job a lot easier. Whether that's Toombs, whether that's Linder, whether that's Davis, or whether that's Sizemore, it's going to make his job a lot easier. And even the 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks for Otterbein will have time to throw if they can establish Drew Irvin and Chester Deaton in that power eye early on.
Coach Daup is coming off 2 consecutive losses to teams ranked in the top 15. He now has a week to prepare for the Crusaders, and I know he has said things are going to change. It's going to get better. We're going to run some different things out there. With a week to prepare for this rivalry team, what is Coach Daup telling his players in the locker room and trying to get them motivated to go into this game?
Well, for the seniors, he's telling them this is your last chance. This is your last chance to go out there and beat Capital, so make it a good one. And for the guys under them, he's saying this is the seniors' last chance, so don't mess it up for them. Yeah. That's what he's saying. He's saying go out there and make this one special for the seniors and make it special for all of you. It's Capital. It's a home game. It's a big game. Hopefully there's a big crowd. If you're going to watch this at Otterbein, which I hope everybody is, make it a big crowd Saturday. Rattle the Crusaders when they come here. Make it special for the seniors. Make it special for the team. And I hope that's what Coach Daup is telling his guys, to make this game special. It is a huge game, a huge atmosphere. Even though the records don't show it, it's still the rivalry game, and it's still the biggest game Otterbein plays all season.
Yeah, and Capital's student section always comes in big numbers, too. So you don't want to be outdone by the Crusaders student section on the other side of the field. Make sure to fill up the stands at Memorial Stadium.
I want to see it.
Well, now we're going to throw it to a segment we call Football Flashback, where we're going to look back at one of the most unique Otterbein Capital games of all time and the 1960 Otterbein football team. The 1959-60 football season was one of the most memorable in school history. Led by two-time All-OAC quarterback Larry Klein, Otterbein finished the season 7-2. In the season finale against Capital, Otterbein destroyed the Crusaders 60-28, with Klein throwing for 6 touchdowns, a school record that still stands. After Otterbein scored a touchdown late in the game to make it 60 points, they lined up for the extra point. The holder took the snap and then ran sideways out of bounds. It wasn't until minutes later that the stunned crowd realized what happened. The Cards had purposely avoided kicking the extra point to keep the score at 60 in honor of the senior class of 1960. It was the most points Otterbein had scored on Cap since the first meeting in 1894. As always, John, before we step aside and throw it to an end here on Cardinal Kickoff, we will get your final thoughts and a score prediction for Saturday's ball game against the boys from Bexley.
Well, obviously it's a rivalry game, so as is any rivalry game, you can throw the records out.
Yep.
Those don't mean a thing. Otterbein's 3-4, Capital's 1-6. We can go through all the stats, we can go through all the numbers, but those don't mean a thing. Both these teams won it on Saturday, but I think the fact that it's going to be here at home, and I think the fact that Otterbein is riding a 2-game losing streak to 2 of the best teams in the country means a lot to this team right now, and I think the seniors really want to make this a win. They really want to go out there, and last year the thing that sparked Otterbein forward was the defensive effort and the ground game.
Yep.
So I expect to see a lot of the same this Saturday. It's going to be cold out there on Saturday, so expect to see Otterbein keep it on the ground. There's still some questions of who's going to be starting at quarterback, and expect to see a defensive touchdown. I might call actually 2 defensive touchdowns, because last year there were a couple defensive touchdowns, and that's what sparked it forward. Final, Otterbein 24, Capital 10.
It's interesting that you mentioned the defensive touchdowns, because I was about to say the exact same thing, and we hadn't even talked about it. I've been talking about it all year. Otterbein had 5 defensive touchdowns last year. Obviously, Korpeski, a big deal, because he had
huge.
3 of them. But Giosi had that long interception return for a touchdown last year against Capital that really sparked the victory. I, too, was going to predict a defensive touchdown finally in this game for the Otterbein defense. Hopefully, they can get one. Not sure who's going to get it, but I feel a pick 6 or a fumble return is in the books for the Cardinals in this one, and I'm going to say Ben Sizemore is going to be healthy, I feel. In that Heidelberg game, he battled through an injury. You could tell he was limping around and clearly visibly hurt during that game, and he fought through that pain to come back and play against Heidelberg, so I think he'll be on the field and under center for Saturday.
Well, and he seemed on Saturday against Mount Union when he was out there that he was trying to throw the ball on the sideline and was trying to keep himself loose, and he seemed all right throwing the ball, just a little bit shaky on that ankle, but as long as he's okay to go out there, I don't see any reason he won't be out there.
I'm going to say a final score. Otterbein plays great offensively and an even better defensive game. I'm going to say that they win this one 27-7 is the final score, and they extend their winning streak over Capital to 2 games, and that's what we call a winning streak, John.
That's what we love to see here at Otterbein. Anytime Otterbein beats Capital, we're happy.
And I can get my second score prediction win of the season, too, hopefully.
There you go.
Not a good record so far this year. Well, that's going to do it for us on Cardinal Kickoff. Remember, if you can't make it to Memorial Stadium on Saturday, you can watch the game here on OTV. It will be a double header. There's a women's volleyball game starting at 11 a.m. and the football game to follow at 1:30. I will have the call for the volleyball, and myself and Harrison Ralph will have the call for football. Jordan Brown sideline reporting. You can watch that on Otterbein.tv. We thank you for watching Cardinal Kickoff, brought to you by the Columbus Square Bowling Palace. For my co-producer, Aaron Reinhart, I am David Kinder, along with Jon Bozeka. We thank you for watching. Remember, go Cards and beat Capital.
Who says 30 can't be fun? The Columbus Square Bowling Palace is turning 30, and the fun has just begun. Come celebrate our birthday with us. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours for fun with friends and family, no matter what time it is, there's always time at the Palace. The Palace is the perfect place to hold your birthday party or corporate employee groups. Call us today to make your reservation. 30 years old and better than new, with millions of dollars in renovations at the highest rated bowling center in Columbus, the Columbus Square Bowling Palace.